Hey guys, welcome back to another tutorial today. So in today's video we're going to learn how to make this off-shoulder ruffled shirt with a puff sleeve. So many of you have been asking me for basic bodice tutorial, so this tutorial is going to cover all that. Basic bodice tutorial for an off-shoulder and also a puff sleeve for an off-shoulder. So let's head straight to the pattern drafting. Like I said, we are starting from the scratch to draft a basic bodice. So firstly, you want to draw out your guideline on your paper, and then you mark half of your shoulder allowance. Then you're going to be marking your neckline on the basic. If you're on a small size, 2.5. If you're on big size, 3 inches. Now on that half shoulder measurement, you come down by 1.5 inches, connect it to that 2.5 inches neck mark like so. Then from this point, as you can see, you're going to be imputing your armhole measurement like this. Now you want to start from this very tip of that guideline to your armhole measurement. Whatever you get, for me, it is 8.5 inches, sorry. So you're going to be taking it across like so, same measurement across. And you're going to be using your ruler to join those dotted lines together, which is going to be serving as your chest line. If you found this video helpful and you've watched to this point, please do well to subscribe. Click the bell notification icon so you'll be the very first person to know whenever I post lovely tutorials like this. Also do well to check other videos in the channel. Please share this video so it will be useful to other sewing platforms. Now on that chest line, you're going to be marking the same half of your shoulder measurement. Then you connect this up all the way to this point. Now I'm going to be getting the midpoint of my shoulder slope, or before that I'll go ahead to mark the depth of my front neckline. I'm using 3 inches, okay? So no matter what your size is, like I said, this is a basic bodice, right? It is 3 inches. Now we're going to be getting the midpoint of my shoulder slope. Whatever the midpoint of a shoulder slope is, just using your tape, you're going to get it. Now from that midpoint, we are going to be marking our measurements down, shoulder to bust point. I have shoulder to my half length, and of course shoulder to my hip. Now I don't want my shirt to come down all the way to the hip. I don't want my shirt to be so long. So my shoulder to hip is 24 inches, but I'm going to be using 20 inches. Nevertheless, I marked all the way from shoulder to the hip 24 inches. So I have an exact beautiful line, shape or fitting. On those lines I squared out, I'm going to be marking my bust apart measurement. Mine is 3 inches, so I marked it on the bust line, waistline, and also on the hip line. I'm going to be using my ruler to connect all those points together like so. Then on my waistline, I'm going to be marking half an inch on both sides of the bust apart measurement to create my waist dart. I'm going to be connecting it to the bust point like so. And then coming down from that waistline, I went ahead to mark 4 inches downwards. I'm going to be connecting that of this part to that 4 inches point. I did not say the hip line, to the 4 inches point. 4 inches or 4.5 inches is okay. Connect it to that point. And this is your waistline for your basic bodice tutorial. The next thing I'm going to do now is to impute my round measurement. Your round bust measurement, you want to impute it. Your round waist measurement, you want to impute it, including 1 inch for the dart. Including 1 inch for the dart. You're going to impute it. Then also your hip measurement, you're also going to impute it. So somebody might be wondering, why are we imputing the hip measurement since the shirt I'm making is not stopping at the hip? It is going to help the fit. Alright? So now we're going to be joining all those round measurements together to form that very beautiful feminine shape that we want. I'm going to have to join it, and this is what it looks like. Then we'll go ahead to put it this way. Please watch closely all that I'm doing. Now I'm going to be marking my side bust dart. I came down by 3.5 inches, then 1 inch upwards. I'm going to be joining it to the bust point like so. So I've created my side bust dart. Now for the armhole area, I'm going to be indicating the half or mid part of my armhole. I'm going in by 1 inch, upwards here by 1 inch, like so. We'll be connecting all those points together right now. So you guys, this is typically my basic bodice front tutorial. This is what my basic bodice front look like before I start manipulating to create any design. This is what I have first. Okay, so heading straight to the back, which is pretty much same thing. I don't know why I'm showing picture for the front, but please, we are drafting the back now, which is like same procedure, but there are few changes. Please, same procedure, but there are few changes in the measurement. Now you're also going to be inputting your half shoulder measurement and also the 2.5 inches or 3 inches depending on the one you're using. Shoulder slope 1 inch. You connect it to this point like so. Then go ahead from that point of your shoulder slope. You want to mark in your armhole measurement. Mine is 7 inches. Whatever yours is, you want to impute it. And then you take the accurate measurement from the guideline to that point. Here I have 8 inches. Remember, for the front I had 8.5 inches. Here I'm having 8 inches. So you want to make sure all these things are coming out nice. Then you're going to be joining all the lines together to form your chest line for the back. Now on the chest line also, you go ahead to mark half of your shoulder measurement like you did for the guideline. And you go ahead to connect those 2 points together. I had to mark it here again because my ruler was not long enough so that I can have a straight line. Now you want to get the midpoint of your shoulder slope. Then from there, you're taking your measurement downwards, shoulder to bust point for the back, shoulder to the waist for the back, and also shoulder to the hip for the back. Definitely the waistline and your hip measurement for the back, they are totally different. Now I'm going to be using my ruler to square a line across those points and marked like so. Now also, I'm going to be marking my bust apart measurement, which some people call nipple measurement, on those lines I squared out, which is on the bust point, the waistline, and the hip, just like we did for the front. So having done that, I went ahead to join them together, and then on my waistline, I'll go ahead also to mark half an inch on both sides of the bust apart measurement, which is going to be forming my waist dart. Some persons say they increase this to like 0.5 inches on both sides. I haven't really practiced it to see what it's going to look like. Trust me, tailoring is all about practicals. You have to practice it before you bring it out to people to say that it actually works. So I haven't practiced it to see the kind of fit it's going to give, but I've been using this for a whole lot of sizes, even oversized. I've used this half an inch on both sides, and trust me, the fitting is superb. So I haven't tried the other one. Definitely I'll be trying it out someday, but I haven't tried it, so I can't bring it out here. 1 inch is what I've tried, so you want to go on and do this. So now we've done this, we are going to be, I've marked in the round measurements like we did for the front. Okay, remember to include 1 inch for your waist dart. We're going to be joining them together like so. So this is what the back looks like. We're not done. Now for my back neckline, the depth is half an inch. That is the basic. Remember I said this is a basic bodice. We have to get the basic bodice before we go over to the off shoulder. Alright, we have to get the basic bodice before we go over to the off shoulder. Now for the back, instead of 1 inch here, I'm using 0.75 or 0.7 inches. So we're going to be joining all those points together. Technically, before I do anything, I have to get the basic bodice first. I always have it on ground before I manipulate it to any design that I want. I don't just jump into creating the design. So that is why I have to do it first here before showing you guys the off shoulder part of it. So now this is what I've cut out, the front, basic bodice front. This is what it looks like. I'm going to be attaching the sleeve to it like so. Remember, you're attaching the front sleeve. Now on the center part of the sleeve, I'm going to be marking 2 inches. I actually marked 1.5 here, but I decided to use 2 inches later. This part is going to determine how off your sleeve is going to be from, your arm. So I used 2 inches because I don't really want mine to be so off. I want to wear it to modest places like church and all that. Now for the depth, I used 6 inches. Remember, I removed 3 initially, plus the actual 3 I removed now, making it 6 inches. Now the whole of this part is going off. There are hollows in the feminine body, so you have to contour it so it relaxes on you. Now we're going to be imputing the necessary contour guidelines. The reason for this contour guidelines is that the female body is not just straight. There are kind of hollows and all that. So you want to contour it so it fits into those holes and gaps and shapes and curves that is in the human body. That is why, especially in the female body, that is why we are contouring it. Contour to give it a nice fit. Now these are the contour lines I marked, and on that line I'm going to be imputing our bust arc, which is the distance between your bust point and your under bust. Mine is 3 inches. I had to impute it on those 2 lines. Now my dart is going to be sitting on that bust arc, which is 1/2 inch here, 1/2 inch also here. You want to watch closely how I'm going to be connecting it to form a dart. So I'm going to be connecting it to this point, from that dart to the bust point like so, from the dart back to this point like so. To this point like so, and to this point also like so. So this is what your contour dart is looking like for this very particular one. All right. So the next thing we are going to do now is to cut out like so. Of course, when you cut out, you can see we are having that off-shoulder shape right now. Can you see that? That's what we're having, that off-shoulder shape. So we're going to be closing up the whole of this dart. I've separated the sleeve from the bodice, and I'm going to be setting the sleeve aside. So we're going to be cutting out. Firstly, I cut open my side bust dart. Then all the contour darts, I'm going to be cutting them open and transferring them to the side bust dart. Now at this point, you can decide to make yours to be like a shoulder princess seam, but I do not do mine as a shoulder princess seam. I just sewed it up as a one-way waist dart, whereby I brought all the darts that were transferred to the waist darts and I sewed it up. But you can decide to do it as a shoulder princess dart. That will be very helpful for you if you're a beginner. If you've closed here now, of course, you should cut open your shoulder princess dart. If you don't know how to do a shoulder princess dart, drop a comment in the comment section and I will drop a link to the video that will explain that to you so you understand better. This is what the front is going to look like. You're going to be truing this part on your fabric when you're cutting it out. So when you sew up this part, of course, you're going to be having that nice feminine shape. But I will advise as a beginner that you do it as a princess, shoulder princess dart. Now we're heading over to the back. For the back, this is what we have. I actually want my back to be fitted. The one on the screen has kind of rumples on it, but mine is fitted. If you check at the beginning of the video, all right, mine is fitted at the back. So I'm not going to be using any form of elastic. So I'm going to be doing everything possible to see that my back fits closely, so I don't have to use an elastic, including the front. I'm not using any elastic. All right. So I've gone ahead to do that of the back for the off shoulder. It's pretty simple than the front. The back is actually simple than the front. We aren't doing much. This is just all. Then the next thing I'm going to do now is to cut open the darts. So at this point, if you also want to make your back like a shoulder princess seam, you can just go ahead and cut all the way to the top. So you have 2 pieces for the back. All right. Once you remove your dart, you can just cut a straight line all the way to the top. So you can have 2 pieces for the back. But no, for me, I'm going to just be sewing up the back dart, so I don't have to deal with a lot. Now heading over to the puff sleeve, the off shoulder puff sleeve. Remember I said we are not using any elastic. So this is going to be fitting on our body when we put it on. This is what we're going to do. We took off 2 inches from the cap. So from that 2 inches mark all the way down, we have 9 inches. That is what our sleeve length is going to be. I also went ahead to mark 1 inch upwards, which is going to serve as the sleeve band. Look at the one we are recreating. You'll find that there's a band for the sleeve. Now, one beautiful thing about this design is that you can make it for your Ankara, for whatever. It mustn't be a white fabric. You can make it for your Ankara, whatever you want to use it for. You can make it like so. So now to get that puff sleeve effect, since I am not using elastic to gather the top part of it, I want to retain the shape of the top part of it. We are going to slashing and spreading like that of a flare. Just exactly as you're seeing me doing here right now. You want to see where I stopped my slash and spread. Can you look closely where I stopped my slash and spread? You want to do exactly the same thing that I've done. Can you see that? This is what it looks like. Then we'll head over to cutting out the patterns on the fabric. Before you cut out the front, I'm going to be marking 3 inches from the center front all the way down because we will be needing a button allowance. So that 3 inches for where we're going to be fixing our button. Now you want to place the front like so, starting from that point and leave that 3 inches gap. Of course, I said it's for the button. So we're going to be placing the front like so. I also use my chalk to mark out my dart line. Okay. Use your chalk to mark it out so you can sew on top of it. Make sure you're marking on the wrong side so you can sew on top of it. It's kind of easier for you. You also want to duplicate this at the back. Remember, the front is 2 pieces. You also want to duplicate this same thing you have done here, especially to mark out the dart at the back. So I went ahead to mark the notch for where the button will be stopping. So when I'm sewing, I'll know that this is where my button space has to stop. So after the whole thing, I've gone ahead to sew up the button space. I ironed it. I also went ahead to sew up my dart. Like I said, if you're not used to sewing up darts like so, make sure you do yours as a shoulder princess dart, so it's easier for you. I'm going to have to attach my buttons, and this is what it looks like. Now for that ruffle effect, you want to cut a long strap of fabric that is like 3 inches, or that is like times 3 of the one you have, and you want to gather it and sew it up like so. So I'll show you how I sewed it up. You know, this is a button shirt, right? The first one is going to be starting on top of the buttonhole where it's going to cover up. The other one is just going to be starting somewhere before the button allowance. So by the time you button it, one is going to cover up the other. Having done this now, the next thing we are going to do is to sew the back and the front together. Also, do not forget to stitch up your dart for the back. Now to sew the back and front together, you're only going to be sewing the side seams. Do not touch the armhole, do not touch the neckline. This is an off shoulder, so you're just sewing the side seams alone. Remember to stitch up your dart, sorry. For the sleeve, you want to gather this like so, and then use your sleeve band to hold it together. Do not worry, I'll explain better. All right, I'm going to explain better now. I'm going to have to fix up this sleeve. So let me just show you what the sleeve looks like, so when I'm explaining, you understand. Now this is our sleeve. This part is where it's going to sit like so. Okay, sit like on around your arm. So you want to take the back part of the sleeve, and you're sewing it from this point all the way to the armhole area. Then you stop at the side seam. You also take the front part of the sleeve. The curved area is going to be sitting around your arm. So you want to start from the point where the curved area stops, and then you sew it up. After sewing it up, you go ahead to gather it like so and fix in your sleeve band. Alright, you want to gather it and fix in your sleeve band like so. And at the end, you guys, this is what we have. Thank you for watching. This is what the back looks like, and I'll see you in my next tutorial. Bye.